All right, so Brendan Schaub made an appearance on the Tiger Belly podcast to discuss all the drama that's been going on with him, Bobby Lee, and Khalyla. And of course, this podcast didn't go very well for Brendan, but I don't think anybody really expected it to go well for him. I mean, he clearly is not good at handling these situations, and everything he's done so far has only made himself look worse. But at least with the Tiger Belly podcast, it seems like they got everything out in the open now, and there were some things that they disagreed on, which we'll get to, but the fact that they had Brendan on the podcast and they were able to talk about it all, and it never really got heated or anything like that. I mean, there were some really awkward moments, but it was definitely good that they're able to sit down and talk about it openly and give details and say whatever they want about the situation, because that's probably the best way to handle this. And I don't think Brendan and Bobby are ever going to be best friends, but I think eventually Bobby will be cool with Brendan. I mean, maybe he already is, but obviously with Brian Callen, it's a whole nother story. I mean, it sounded like Bobby will never be friends with him again, and it's understandable. Like, it sounded like Brian just took things to a whole nother level. Like, obviously Brendan and Brian both screwed up here, but it sounded like what Brian did was probably unforgivable. All right, so now let's get into some of the audio clips from this Tiger Belly podcast with Brendan Schaub, and I'm going to start when Bobby Lee is talking about the phone call.
It was you and Brian, and you said that that you guys, my career was going to be over. That you guys have evidence, you know what I mean? That I'm some Reddit mastermind. That you have files and proof that you can trace, me from Reddit back to my house, the URL,
IP address.
IP address, and that that you were going to expose me to Rogan and all these people, and that I should get a lawyer, and that this is what you told me. And also, just mind you, it was at a level 10 of rage. It wasn't like a soft-spoken, like,
very aggressive.
Yeah, it was extreme, threats. And then you called Khalyla things I don't even want to mention.
I did not.
I know you didn't.
And I haven't heard what you guys said. I don't talk like that. I would never call Khalyla that. That's
Right.
not in my
Brendan,
verbiage.
you called me that on the phone call we had.
I did not call you that.
Brent,
I did not.
No, but you don't know what they said, so you can't.
The stuff that I got was pretty on par to just about the worst thing you could tell somebody.
Brian apologized. What Brian said on there, and even I told him that was a lot.
So it's really hard to tell, like, is Brian trying to take all the blame here just to help out Brendan and, like, shift the focus to him, which, I mean, I think is definitely part of it, but I don't think Brendan probably took things as far as Brian, obviously, because Brendan's on the podcast here. They're actually able to, like, sit down and talk about this, because obviously with Brian, it sounds like Bobby wants nothing to do with him, and, it just sounds like he took things to a whole nother level than Brendan, even though what Brendan was doing was still really bad. I mean, these two guys, I don't know what the hell they're thinking here. Like, this is the most cowardly shit ever. And again, I do have to give Ethan Klein credit for exposing this, because this is definitely something that should be brought to attention. It's not good that these guys are, like, behind the scenes trying to scare them and intimidate them and, like, all this other stuff, which they'll get into here in a second. Like, nobody should have to deal with this shit just because they told a story about some guy hitting on them 7 years ago. And the fact that they said they're going to expose it to Rogan and, like, say they're going to use him to destroy Bobby's career, I mean, that is so cringy, and I'm sure Joe Rogan wanted nothing to do with this. Like, this is such pathetic behavior from Brendan and Brian. I mean, this could have been handled so much easier, but instead they had to go, like, the bullying, tough guy, like, threatening people. They had to go that whole route instead of just calling them like a normal person and just politely asking them to not mention your name anymore or something. Instead, they went, like, 0 to 100.
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
But what I found to be heartbreaking was going into a character assassination where you were saying, not you in particular, I don't even remember what, because I was I was so trembling almost, calling me a coward, weak, spineless.
The context behind that is I never talk about this stuff ever. Our podcast usually fun. We don't talk about, the negative stuff that I deal with. Brian wasn't aware of the negativity that I deal with. Everybody gets stuff on Reddit. Everybody in this room, I don't know if you guys do. You guys do for
I do,
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure Khalyla does.
We all do.
Being a woman in this space. So there's a difference between hate and then straight evil, toxic, criminal behavior. And for 6 years, I've dealt with this. Now, if you want to criticize my comedy, the podcast, so be it. That's the internet. That's what we sign up for. But when it crosses over into harassment of my family, death threats, my kids, going for sponsors, companies that I work with, my business, that's where it gets dicey. So it would have to get so dicey to the point where my team gets notified on this.
All right, so obviously Brendan does get a lot of hate on the internet. That's no secret. And I'm sure there are people that take things too far, which is not okay. Like, I don't support that behavior. Like, that is not right. And I'm sure the subreddit doesn't support that either. I don't think Brendan should have to deal with any of that stuff. I mean, he gets enough hate as it is. He doesn't need people sending him death threats or going after his family or anything like that. Like, that is totally uncalled for. And I think most people realize that. And I think even Bobby said he empathizes with Brendan when it comes to all the hate he's getting. But the problem with Brendan using this as an excuse as to why he's like taking action and everything, it doesn't really make sense, because he will still copyright videos where people are just like making fun of his stand-up special, or like just talking about him, making fun of him or whatever. And the person he's suing him for, I think, copyright infringement. Like, none of this stuff has to do with people threatening him or like going after his family. It's just people making fun of him. And then also, when it comes to the Tiger Belly account that he claims was like going after him on the Fighter and the Kid subreddit, it sounds like he only cared about that once the Trash Tuesday podcast happened, and like when the girls talked about him hitting on them. It seemed like he only cared about these things once that came out, that he might be possibly cheating on his wife. And then it seemed like he might have used the Tiger Belly Reddit account as an excuse to go after Bobby more and use it as blackmail and just try to use it against them. So it seems like the Tiger Belly Reddit account, like, that had to do with the whole Trash Tuesday podcast, which obviously Brendan denies. But Bobby and Khalyla think that they are part of the same issue, and I think I believe them, because, I mean, it'd be a weird coincidence for them to, like, all right, Brendan's already mad at Bobby for the whole Khalyla thing and her exposing Brendan and everything like that, and then just like less than a month later, they find this Reddit account that is somehow linked to them. Like, that just seems too perfect. And it's also weird that Brendan just keeps referencing this like team that he trusts and these people that are like investigating the subreddit and everything like that, because it just sounds like he has no idea what he's talking about, and there's no proof that he's shown yet. And it just really seems like they were trying to find a connection between the Fighter and the Kid subreddit and the Tiger Belly subreddit, or like just the Tiger Belly podcast. Like, they're trying to find a reason to go after Bobby and Khalyla more, and maybe that was Brendan's team trying to do that, or it's just Brendan. But either way, it doesn't matter. Like, Brendan's going to take the blame for it, and it is his responsibility in the end.
You're referring to DMs.
Right.
Which I own and was completely stupid
Thank
and
you.
never should have
Thank you.
done.
Okay.
Now,
Right.
I'll defend myself. Like, I own that, and
Thank you.
and that was not right, and I've definitely changed.
And you apologize.
And I apologize
Right.
way before then.
Yeah.
But then also, so hold on, Khalyla, real quick. But then also, so apologize for that. We've talked about it before. Trust me, I've been to therapy over this stuff. That's also another reason I'm on social media, so I don't engage in any of that stuff. So I've learned from that. As far as the Annie stuff goes, that's where I do have to defend myself. And I'm telling you, that never happened.
Okay.
That's a situation you would have to talk to her about. But I'm going to get back to the podcast itself.
Yeah.
All right, so this is pretty big news. Brendan is denying the whole truck walk, and this could definitely cause some more drama, because I don't know if Annie's just going to accept Brendan calling her a liar. Like, I'm sure she's going to have something to say about that. So I think maybe her and Brendan should do a podcast together and try to work it out. That'd be hilarious.
If we're having this discussion about something that happened in the past and we're having a giggly little girl talk, where is the crime in that?
There's no crime. You can do whatever you want.
Right.
I have no issue with that. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, no issue with it.
All right.
I'm just saying, is that nice?
Is that nice? Dude, you're the one that was hitting on your friend's girl. Like, it's really hard for you to play the victim here in this situation. And you can't say you didn't have a problem with what she said if this is how you react to it.
You text Bobby saying you've been harassed for 6 years straight and you've had it. And you're finally going, this is quote, This is a direct quote. You're finally going after anyone who harasses you online, including comics, that you have spent $500,000 on monster lawyers, and that you have friends in dark places who are going to get the job done. To which Bobby says, okay, I'll talk to Khalyla.
Like, this does not seem like you don't care. Like, this is not a normal reaction. And obviously this is how he reacted to the like Fight in the Kid Tiger Belly account on subreddit or whatever. But that's less to do with the cheating thing. I mean, to try to like separate those two things, I find it hard to believe that those were completely different. And I'm sure it does suck to get all the hate he gets, and it is annoying after a while. But like he said, that's part of the internet. You can't go around copyright claiming videos and suing people and all this nonsense. And it's only going to make things worse for you, because then once people realize that it's really getting to you, then they're probably going to want to do it more, and you're giving them more to talk about, and you're making more people aware of it. Like, once he sued that small YouTuber, Penguins talked about it. Like, it's only going to make things worse. I don't know how he doesn't realize that. And I remember earlier this year, like when it comes to getting hate and stuff like that, I remember earlier this year, there's this YouTube channel, this girl who's like 16 or 17 runs it, and she does like Minecraft videos for kids. And these commentary channels, they started talking about her, and they're just tearing her content apart and just relentless. Everyone was talking about her. It was getting a ton of views, and eventually she got doxxed, and I'm sure she was dealing with a ton of shit, like death threats, all the stuff that Brenda deals with. And she's like 16 or 17, and she barely even complained about it. She didn't go around trying to take down videos or sue people, and she even became friends with some of the commentary channels that were talking about her, and she said she enjoyed the criticism that they had. And some of the stuff was right on par with what Brendan gets. So there's obviously a way to handle this kind of stuff, and Brendan, whatever he did, do the exact opposite of that. I mean, what he did was like the worst way to handle it. It's crazy that he thought that was a good idea. And whoever this team is that he hired, he needs to get rid of them immediately. Obviously, it's not working for him. All right, so now let's get into just a few other clips. And first we have Khalyla talking about how Brendan has not shown her any evidence of Tiger Belly being associated with the Fight in the Kid subreddit, and she's been waiting for like 2 weeks.
I text you on 4 different occasions asking for those 300 pages. I tell you that I don't want my business to be associated with any of this. I patch you to my producers, George and Gilbert, who both tell you that we want to get to the bottom of this. We want to help you. This is serious. I felt like you long played us, and you say you're busy, and nothing is ever sent to us.
Yeah, so I don't know, but it sounds like this evidence probably doesn't exist, or maybe like they're trying too hard to associate Tiger Belly with the Fight in the Kid subreddit, or like something like that. But it's clear he doesn't really want to show them. So it sounds like he probably was using this as a threat to try to blackmail them, and now it's just kind of backfiring, which of course, because this is Brendan Schaub and everything he's done so far has backfired. All right, so after this, Khalyla talks about how she heard that Brendan was going to like Rogan and Whitney Cummings and like anybody he could find to try to slander her name and should try to make her look bad and to try to use them against her, it sounds like. And also, I'm pretty sure Brendan denies this. So this is another disagreement they have. And also Khalyla, she says this is the reason why she talked about it on the H3 podcast. She said she heard this like right after Brendan went on Flagrant 2. So she heard him go on Flagrant 2 and say all these nice things about her. But then also she heard behind the scenes he was trying to stir shit up even more.
I text you after the show. I give you the heads up. I say, Brendan, this is what was talked about on H3. Later that afternoon, Callan calls to apologize to Bobby for the bullying, threats, etc.
Hey, will you clear bullying meaning define bullying for me? Like what? Like Callan bullied you, Bobby?
That phone call.
That phone call.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Does not seem bullying to you?
That phone call, yes. I didn't know if if Callan called you like every other day doing this.
No.
Which
Brendan really needs to learn to like think through what he's about to say, because right here when he said define bullying for me, come on dude, this is not the time and place to be saying that. Like, you guys just gotta accept that you screwed up big time. Don't try to defend Brian at all. Don't try to make it seem like it might not be as serious as Bobby's making it out to be. Like, he is the victim here. people all feel bad for him. Just accept that you're in the wrong and there are no excuses. And also, it was interesting that they said I'm pretty sure they said Brian didn't apologize to Bobby until after the H3 podcast, which, if that's true, then I don't know how sincere that apology is, because why didn't he make it beforehand? Like, if he already knew he screwed up, he should have already made the apology. Like, he should have already given him an apology. It shouldn't take, like, all this to be aired out to the public for him to apologize. Like, if you know what you did was wrong, you should just apologize right away. You shouldn't need public pressure to apologize. But I don't know the whole timeline of events here. Maybe Brian didn't have much time and, like, he just happened to do it after the podcast. I don't know for sure. So there's just one more audio clip I want to play where they're talking about the H3 podcast again.
When we showed up to H3 podcast,
That hurt my feelings.
yeah, it hurt mine as well.
But we'll get there.
We'll get there. So when I showed up to H3 podcast, this wasn't even in our world. It wasn't in our view, our mind. You know what I mean?
And I don't know him, and I have no ill will towards
Right,
him.
right.
I don't know him, but from my understanding from talking to mutual friends of ours, that's what he does, right?
Yeah, but we had done the
deals with that
podcast.
drama
Yeah, but we
stuff?
had done that podcast many times before. He's done ours. Him and his wife, Hila, and
They're lovely.
They're lovely. And
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, as people, they're lovely.
I don't know them.
You know, and you know, it wasn't in our, you know, and even on the drive back from there, we were in a state of shock because, you know, I'm not one to, you know, air my dirty laundry on air.
Right.
Okay. And it was a private matter. And once he brought it up, there was just no way to get out of it. I tried, you know what I mean? I was a thinking machine. I mean, it was just like spinning, right?
In honesty, I didn't try that hard.
All right, so it sounds like Bobby might be a little upset with Ethan for Ethan bringing this up and continuing to talk about it. But, you know, like, this is, like they said, this is Ethan's podcast. And I guess maybe Bobby wasn't aware of, like, what the podcast turned into. But if you know it at all, like, within the past years, you know this is the kind of stuff that Ethan is looking for, and this is prime content for him. And it was pretty clear he was going to bring this up. And I think it's a good thing he did. I mean, this definitely helped the whole situation. Like, so far what Ethan did, I'd say it did help. Maybe Ethan will go overboard with it. Like, I'm sure he will. But so far, I think it was good that he got Bobby to admit all this, and that now it's all out in the open, because it's not good that this kind of stuff was taking place behind the scenes. And it's better for Bobby if they're open about it. Because now Bobby has all the control. Like, he can decide what he wants to do. If he doesn't want to be friends with these people, I think everyone will understand. If he wants to be friends with them, then that's fine too. He can pretty much do whatever he wants here. And then also, I don't even think Ethan really pressured him that much into talking about it. Like Khalyla said, she was open to it and she wanted to get it out there. So I don't think Ethan really did anything wrong here. But he is going to have to be careful talking about Brendan going forward, because most of Bobby's fans think him talking about it is going to hurt Bobby. Like, Ethan already put out that tweet trashing Brendan, and then he just deleted it right away. So he's got to be careful here. Like, this is a tricky situation for him, because he could definitely continue to upset Bobby fans and even his own fans. A lot of his own fans were upset about this. So it's going to be interesting to see how far he takes it, because I don't think he's going to stop anytime soon. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see how people react to it, because I wouldn't be surprised if Bobby tells Ethan to calm down, possibly, because I wouldn't be surprised if Brendan asks Bobby to tell Ethan to calm down. But I don't know. We'll just have to see where things head from here. So thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, leave me a comment, let me know what you think about all this, and then hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.